Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Cooking. Today we're making apple custard de la foot. That's right, a nice yummy dessert that is just as smooth as a baby bottom. Check this guy out. Is this not the epitome of deliciousness? I mean, creamy with a little crunch on the apple. It's not even that hard to make. Now, for your ingredients, we'll start out here with 3 apples. Depending on the size, if you got them big Mondo apples, you might be able to do 2, but generally 3, you decide. But about 3 apples, whatever flavor you like even. You could do Granny Smith or you could do any of them because we're gonna tear these things apart to make it. So 3 apples, 2 cups of milk, a half a cup of sugar, and about a tablespoon and a half of cornstarch. For the topping of it, the apple-y part, we're gonna be throwing in another apple we'll cut up later, a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of sugar, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. We may even throw in a little vanilla extract just for fun. So let's get to the cooking. Now, the apples we're using today, I bought a big old bag of these guys and I was so excited to make this until I got home and realized I think most of them fell off of the truck, they're soft spots. So my 3 apples are actually gonna be 4 because I'm gonna have to cut big chunks of these out to save the rest of the apple. So let's get to chopping. Now that we've cut them down into chunks, we really don't have to do anything further. We're not gonna pull the skins off or anything like that because these guys are heading straight to the blender. Well, we were gonna put all these into a mixer, but I got my mixer out, I loaded it with all these apples, turned it on. Guess what? It don't work. So we're gonna use a food processor. It's got a nice sharp blade, so it'll do just as good. We got our apples loaded up in here. They look thirsty, so we're gonna pour in our milk. That way there's a little bit of a basis, and we are going to blend these until smooth. Now, the more you blend this, the better, because as you blend it, it's gonna grind it up into smaller and smaller pieces. And we want as much liquid as possible when we pour this through the strainer and into the pot. And there you have it. One very sloshy, liquidy apple pieces. Now let's pour them through the strainer and into the pot. And there we have it. We've got our bowl and we've got our strainer. We've got our pudding. Pudding. Now as we pour this through the strainer, you're gonna take all the big pieces out. The better your mixer is, or in this case, food processor, the finer this will be. Since I didn't have my mixer working, we'll just work this through and get all the liquid out of it we can. Now, if you didn't want to strain this and you wanted to put it straight in, the results would still come out the same, but this would be a bit gritty and grainy, and it changes the consistency of the custard. And since you want a really smooth custard, this is a good idea, trust me. Just like I say, without the blender, I have a lot more apple remnant than I wanted, but it's okay. The taste and the consistency is still gonna be there. And my chickens will love me. They eat the fool out of this stuff. Come here, girls. Apple delight. Now that the girls are fed, let's apply a little heat. You don't want to absolutely boil the fool out of this, but we are gonna put a light boil on it. Now before it gets too hot, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna add our sugar, and we're gonna add our cornstarch to it. This way we can get everything mixed up before the party begins. Oh yes, a pool party for everybody. Now in the cooking world, they say that eggs are kind of the glue to everything to hold it together. Well, if that's the case, cornstarch is super glue because it will take this super liquidy mix. Once it warms up, it'll bind it together and it will help make a lovely egg-free custard. And make sure you guys are stirring it the whole time you're on the heat. You don't want the milk to burn and you don't want it to get clumpy. Now, part of the reason why I'm using a flat bottom wooden spoon on this is so that way as I stir it, I can keep scraping the bottom and make sure that nothing is sticking. Because as this starts to warm up, once it starts boiling, the consistency changes quick. It goes from a liquid to a slight paste. Now, as you see, we've got it boiling, and it's to the point where as I stir it, the boil keeps coming around. That's about the temperature you want. We're gonna cut our heat off and keep stirring it for just a little bit because the pan is still really hot. We're gonna stir that until it quits boiling, and then we're gonna let it calm, relax, cool itself, and then we can put it into our cute little serving dishes. Now, after it quits boiling and it cools down a little bit, you can see if it's gonna come out thick enough by just picking up a little bit and seeing how it sits on your spoon. You should have a little bit of a thick sheeting. If it's running right off like water, add about maybe a half another teaspoon or half another teaspoon. Yeah, half another teaspoon. Sounds fancy. Add about a half another teaspoon of cornstarch to it. Heat it back up till it boils again. That way it'll mix into it and help thicken it. Ooh, and now's the time to add a little more flavor. We need some vanilla. Ooh, I'm running low, but I like this stuff. It ain't pumpkin spice. I know it's the season, but we're gonna add about a tablespoon of that. I know you pumpkin spice lovers out there be hating on me right now, but I'm okay with just a little bit of cinnamon in it. Ooh, that smells good. Now, while we're waiting on that to cool down, let me tell you all about the latest Bigfoot sighting. Apparently, Bigfoot's a big fan of the environment. Who knew? He lives in the woods. But a friend of mine saw him. He caught him in the yard out there. Apparently, he didn't like his solar panels, so he was out there cleaning them. Look at him. I mean, I really don't know what he's doing. He doesn't have soap. He doesn't have water. But the boy is trying. He's scrubbing. He's doing his best. He's a Bigfoot. What can you say? Not the most culturally well integrated, perhaps. I don't know. But give the boy credit. He's working it. And speaking of working it, you mind working them phalanges and hitting that subscribe button down there? Trying to get to 100,000. I can only do it one little finger button at a time, and that would be you. Thanks. I appreciate the heck out of it. Now, let's ladle out some of this hot stuff into some flavor bowls. We've got it cooled down quite a bit, but not quite room temperature, still just slightly warm. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this lovely dish and we're gonna pour it into these glasses and set it up oh so nicely. Now, make sure you do this nice and pretty light, because after all, this would be a good first date dessert, you know? Something that you're trying to impress them and say, hey, look at my cooking skills. I am the master chef. Oh man, I think we're gonna have a little extra here. Hold on, I planned for this. I've got the taste tester side. Something that I can sneak a little bite early with, and no one will know. They're gonna know. No one will know. All right, let's see. Keep these even. Put just a little more in here to finish it up. We don't waste none of this stuff. We're gonna get it all in here. Why? Because it is good. All right, now that we've got these guys poured, let's put them in the fridge, let them sit for 1 to 4 hours, depending on how awesome your fridge is. And we'll check back with them when we start to make the apples to go on top of it. Now that we've got our custard or pudding or whatever you like to call it, now that we've got our goo in the fridge, let's go ahead and get the apple cut up so that way we've got a little topping for it. Something to give it just a little bit of crunch and some big pieces of apple to go along with a smooth pudding. We're gonna take another one of our second-hand apples here and we're gonna trim off the bad, just like we did before. Because I'm telling y'all, whoever shipped this thing to us, they absolutely beat this thing up. Now, for this one, we are gonna peel it. So we're gonna take and trim all the outside off of it, because you want nothing but the good parts for this. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna trim these down to maybe somewhere between 1/4 to 1/2 inch size. Like I say, we're making them just bite size and delightful. There we go, little bite-sized pieces. Time to set them in the pool part 2. Now we'll start out, we'll take and boop, melt our butter, get it ready. That way we know the pan's warm. Once the butter's melted, plop, in goes the apples. That didn't take long, did it? Don't you love time-lapse photography? So now that the butter's gooey, yep, all the kids are in the pool. Let's make them just a little sweeter. We're gonna add our little bit of sugar. Whee! Get those guys in. And for color and flavor, cinnamon. We're gonna mix this in here, slightly cook them. We don't wanna overcook them because you actually, well, at least for me, what I'm trying to do, I'm getting just that little bit of crunch in the middle, softening it up some, and making it taste delicious. Because if you've got a really crisp, sharp bite of apple with your pudding or custard, it's just not what you're going for in the dessert. You want everything to be homogeneous, smooth, tasty, and delish. And I think that'll do it. We've got most of the juices, aka the butter, gone down / sucked up into them. What we'll do, we'll turn off the heat, we'll let them sit here, and just like before, we'll let them cool in the pot. Notice I stirred the whole time, that way we didn't burn, crisp, or clunk. And once they get a little cooler, we'll pull our delightful bowls out of the fridge and set this on top of it, and then put it back in so that these will cool down. And wait till you see what we got next. Now that we've cooled down so they're not blistering hot, we're just gonna add a little right to the top. Look at that. You ain't gotta do nothing else. That's pretty right there. But for our bigger boys here, I have a little different plan. A little architectural fun, shall we say. We're gonna take and spread them out just on the edges. Ooh, slide in there. There we go. And then we'll do the same for the other. All right. Everybody is just marinating and soaking in. Back in the fridge for a few hours and wait till you see what we do. Now remember, these are for your date night specialties, not just because you're hungry. Although, I guess you could eat them if you're hungry. But let's take and dress them up a little. Oh, that's right. You knew this was coming. A little pizzazz on top. Little something just to make it more pretty. But you could even top that a little bit more. We're gonna take just a little bit of cocoa. You're not gonna do much because we didn't add a lot of sugar. And if you really lay it to it, might make it a little bitter without the sweetness. And my friends, we're gonna dig in. I want you to check this guy out. Man, that is actually quite photogenic. I don't know if I want to eat this. I'm kind of proud of it. But let me show you. We're going to dig in here. And look how thick and ooey gooey this is. This, my friends, will make you the #1 star of the night. You get just that little bit of crunch, crunch, crunch going on. But it's not hard. It's just right. And then the whipped cream and the apples in there. Oh yeah. This will make you lick the bowl eating it. It's daggum all right. So until you finish eating the bowl, the biggest thing to remember is Bigfoot is real. Really good too. You know, I did figure out when the spoon don't get in the bottom, turn it around and use the other end. Works just as good.